Good morning, everybody. As Kimberly Carlson reminds us, it's not by chance that you arrived here today. You've been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there's a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. And that is what we aspire to be. So, welcome to our community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship. Our chalice lighters this morning are Pete and Lynda.
Hey, Pam, I need to get unmuted to spotlight people.
This reading is by Norbert Fabian Čapek. It is worthwhile to live and fight courageously for sacred ideals. Oh, blow ye evil winds into my body's fire. My soul you'll never unravel. Even though disappointed 1,000 times or fallen in the fight, and everything would worthless seem, I have lived amidst eternity. Be grateful, my soul. My life was worth living. He who was pressed from all sides but remained victorious in spirit is welcomed into the choir of heroes. He who overcame the fetters, giving wing to the mind, is entering into the golden age of the victorious.
Our opening hymn today is There Is More Love Somewhere.
This reading is by Victoria Weinstein. The church is a body. May this body breathe and be together in the spirit of hope. May it feel held by comfort. Those who seek consolation, may they find it in the solace of this moment. The church is a body. It is as strong as all the people who have ever gathered within its walls. It is the power of all they dreamed and all that they have done. The church is a body. It is as vulnerable as the most newborn and untried of its members. It is ancient and it is ever new. The church is a story. It is the story of lives that are interwoven, brought together in this place and this time for the simple purpose of caring for one another and helping one another along the arduous path from birth to death. The church is a vision. It is a vision of unity and diversity. It is a vision of reverence for all of creation. It is a vision that beckons us beyond the concerns of our own skins. In the silence, may we abide as one body in the spirit of faith, hope, and love. That is the story and the vision of this church.
Before we begin,
Called The Memory Tree, written and illustrated by Britta Teckentrup. There was once a fox who lived with all the other animals in the forest. Fox had lived a long and happy life, but now he was tired. Very slowly, Fox made his way to his favorite spot in the clearing. He looked at his beloved forest one last time and lay down. Fox closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and fell asleep forever. Everything around Fox was still and peaceful. Snow began to fall, gently covering him with a soft blanket. Owl had watched Fox from the top of his tree. He flew down and landed next to his friend. Owl was very sad. He had known Fox for a long time. But Owl knew the time had come for his friend to leave. One by one, Fox's friends came to the clearing. First Squirrel and Weasel, then Bear, Deer, and Bird, and finally Rabbit, Mouse, and others came to sit by Fox. Fox had been loved by everyone. He had been kind and caring. No one could imagine life in the forest without him. The animals sat in silence for a very long time. Owl was the first to speak. He smiled warmly and said, "I remember when Fox and I were very young. Every autumn we raced to see who could catch more falling leaves." The other animals remembered and smiled. Mouse said softly, "I remember how much Fox loved the sunset. He always sat at this exact spot." The animals remembered. Many of them had joined Fox, watching the sun go down. It was a happy memory, and their sad hearts filled with warmth. Bear remembered how Fox had looked after her cubs one spring. Rabbit smiled when she told the story of how Fox had played tag with her in the tall grass. Squirrel talked about Fox helping him dig up buried nuts in the deep snow last winter. One by one, the animals remembered their favorite stories about Fox. Fox had touched the lives of all the animals in the forest with his warmth and kindness, and they all smiled, remembering. While the animals talked, a little orange plant grew out of the snow where Fox was lying. Small and delicate at first, and hardly noticeable, the plant grew bigger, stronger, and more beautiful with each story. The animals talked about Fox all through the night, and in the morning, the little plant had grown into a small tree. The animals saw the tree and knew that Fox was still a part of them. During the next days, weeks, and months, the animals remembered many more stories about Fox. Their heavy hearts began to feel lighter. The more they remembered, the more the tree grew, higher and higher and more beautiful, until it was the tallest tree in the forest, a tree made from memories and full of love. Fox's tree was big and strong enough to shelter all the animals. It was always buzzing with life. The birds built their nests among the leaves, and Owl raised his grandchicks on the branches. Squirrel found a cozy home in the trunk, and bear, deer, and rabbit slept in its shade. The tree gave strength to everyone who had loved Fox. And so Fox lived on in their hearts forever.
Those who have died have never really left us. And it's important for us to remember because they are always part of us. And so today I have a short ritual for grief and gratitude around COVID-19, which has taken over our lives for the past 15 plus months. The impact of COVID-19 is real for all of us, whether we're touched by it directly or indirectly. Some of us know people who have the virus or who have had it. This morning, we share a ritual to recognize deaths and losses due to COVID-19, and to note the particular pain of grieving and isolation, as well as to lift up gratitude for all those on the front lines. And so here we have a candle. You may wish to find your own candle to light with us. Will you join me now in lighting this candle of grief and gratitude? I invite you to join me in saying, "We light this candle," and then I will say a few words and invite you to speak the names on your heart. We light this candle. Will you join me now? Oh, I'm sorry. We light this candle in honor of all those working on the front lines, in hospitals, nursing homes, grocery stores, gas stations, hair salons, farmers markets, and all other places where people risk their lives to fill our needs. I invite you now to think in your mind those you know who are on the front lines. We light this candle to send our love to those dying in isolation, for too many still are, especially those who we know and those who are loved by those we know. I invite you now to name those who you know of who have died of the COVID-19 virus. We light this candle to send our love to all those grieving deaths of all causes. I invite you now to name those in your minds, in your hearts, of those who are grieving. We light one final candle in recognition of the enormity of this pandemic's impact on each of us, on those we love, on everyone, especially those already challenged by poverty, racism, transphobia, ableism, xenophobia, and more. I invite you to think in your minds and hearts of all of those who are suffering. We do this in grief, in honor, and recognition, and most of all, in love.
Sim shalom, sim shalom, sim shalom, peace, happiness, and blessing, grace, love, and mercy. May this descend on us and on all the world. Sim shalom, shalom, sim shalom, shalom, sim shalom, shalom, sim shalom,
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. And let us hold each other in our hearts this morning with love and sing together, Draw the Circle Wide. Today, we are going to have a special offertory that's been recorded by Kathleen and Olga. Half of our offering today will go to the UUA General Assembly Fund. Your generous donation will help UU ministers and seminarians, UU justice initiatives in Milwaukee and across our nation. You can donate online at the link in your chat or drop a check in the mail. Many thanks to Kathleen and Olga for that beautiful music. And now we have another story. Have you got the idea? I like stories. This is narrated by our own Deborah, and it is the story of the beginnings of the flower ritual.
In the city of Prague, in the land of Czechoslovakia, in the year 1923, there was a church. But the building did not look much like a church. It had no bells, no spires, no stained glass windows. It had no organ to make beautiful music. It didn't even have a piano. It had no carvings of wood or statues of stone. It had no candles or chalices. It had no flowers. The church did have some things. It had 4 walls and a ceiling and a floor. It had a door and a few windows, and it had some wooden chairs. But that was all, plain and simple. Except the church also had people who came to it every Sunday, and it had a minister, and his name was Norbert Čapek. He'd been a minister at the Plain and Simple Church for 2 years, and every Sunday, Minister Čapek went to church and spoke to the people, and they listened, sitting quietly and still in the wooden chairs. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they went home, and that was all. No music, no candles, no food, not even coffee and donuts. Springtime came to the city of Prague, and Norbert Čapek went out for a stroll. The rains had come. The birds were singing and flowers were blooming all over the land. The world was beautiful. An idea came to him, simple and clear and plain as day. The next Sunday, he asked all the people in the church to bring a flower or a budding branch or even a twig. Each person was to bring one. What kind, they asked. What color? What size? You choose, he said. Each of you choose what you like. And so, on the next Sunday, which was the first day of summer, the people came with flowers of all different colors and sizes and kinds. There were yellow daisies and red roses. There were white lilies and blue asters, dark-eyed pansies and light green leaves, pink and purple, orange and gold. There were all these colors and more. They filled all the vases, and the church wasn't so plain and simple anymore. It was beautiful. Minister Čapek spoke to the people while they listened, sitting quiet and still in the hard wooden chairs. These flowers are like us, he said, different colors and different shapes and different sizes, each needing different kinds of care, but each beautiful, each important, and each special in its own way. When he was done speaking, the people talked a little bit among themselves, and then they each chose a different flower from the one they brought, and they went home with it. And that was all. It was beautiful, plain, and simple as the day.
You know, I imagine that bare room in Prague where Norbert Čapek's congregation gathered to listen to his sermons. That spring day when Reverend Čapek had the inspiration to create a new ritual for a young religion, a uniquely Unitarian ritual that we call our flower ceremony or flower communion. A couple of weeks ago, we heard a story about the plain, unvarnished, naked truth. Naked truth wasn't popular until they dressed themselves up in story. And I think that our story today is kind of a parallel story. I think that Norbert Čapek realized that naked religion isn't necessarily always appealing either. Symbolism, ritual, beauty, and personal connection are important components of helping us connect with the deepest wells of truth, courage, and inspiration. They help make us resilient. They give us beauty to hold on to. A plain and simple beauty, like the flowers. I brought some flowers today. Some of you might have some around you as well, or just outside your window this morning. These are special to me because this plant was given to me by Caroline McDonald. Some of these are, so this is an African violet. It's sort of like a hothouse flower. It needs some extra care and TLC. Many of the flowers that we bring do not need that extra TLC. I can think of lots of different flowers that grow on their own or pretty easily, like was mentioned before the service, perennials, you stick them in the ground, they come back year after year, bringing us beauty. And you know, I was thinking about those plants that just grow around and are free for the taking, free for the enjoying. And it reminded me of when I was a little girl. It was just before Mother's Day. And I wanted to give my mother something special. And I knew she loved flowers. And so I went around up and down the alleys near my home, and very often flower seeds would take root at the sides of the alley and just grow wild. And so there were quite a few flowers that I was able to gather up, and I found a Tupperware glass, and I put them in it in some water, and I put them aside, and I thought, okay, after breakfast, I'm going to bring my mother this special present. I forgot it. I've never had much of a memory. And about a week later, my mother came in with this Tupperware glass, all covered in moldy guck. And she said, "What is this?" Oh, it was my Mother's Day gift. And I felt so awful. And you know, my mother, she was pretty wise. She said, "Well, here's a clean glass. Why don't you go and get me another bouquet? I would love to have a Mother's Day bouquet." They weren't hothouse flowers, but they were probably one of the prettiest bouquets my mother remembers ever seeing. I know that's how I reacted to my own children's bouquets. You know, here in our church, we are not hothouse flowers either, especially not this year. We are hardy, like the flowers that grow in the little bits of dirt beside the road or in rocky crevices. Grown under the sky, we have weathered the wind and the rain and the heat. We've weathered disease and despair with determination and the strength of numbers, because we're not alone. Though it may seem at times the world's gone mad, there are people who believe in goodness, and some of them are gathered right here today. So I have a little poem by Lisa Doge called "No Hothouse Flowers." No hothouse flowers these, bred for perfection, dyed and trimmed and arranged to order, clothed in ribbons and bows. Not these, no. These are hardy, raw, and wild. Grown under the sky, they've weathered the wind and the rain and the heat. These drew nutrients from the neighborhood soil and energy from the sun. These survived pests and disease. These grow where they were planted by loving hands or the whim of birds or the caprice of breeze. These have petals washed by dew, glowing with the colors of the hills, the sea, the prairies, and the rocks. Their delicate perfume carries in it the fragrance of earth. No, not perfect these, only holy. a blessing to the eye and heart and soul. Look around. The people here in this Zoom service and all the others who are not here today, or may have never even called into a Zoom service. All these people of the beloved community have made us what we are right now. Each one of us a holy, imperfect, not hothouse flower. Walking together on holy ground, walking toward one another in love, blessing each other and the world, trailing the delicate fragrance of earth. And now, in your hearts and minds, choose a flower to represent your gifts, your hopes and dreams, your inspiration, your love, all that you bring to this beloved community, and offer it here among us today. We receive your gifts. We need you. Your individual, unique, gorgeous beauty. You are needed right here, right now. If we were in person, we would choose a flower now. A flower offered by someone else, whose beautiful flower is just the one you needed to brighten your day today. And so in our imaginations, we will pass each other flowers like this. So if you think of a gift today that someone in this congregation has offered you, will you hold it in your heart and take it with you after we are done with our service and go our separate ways today? I'll end today with the prayer that Norbert Chapek composed for his first flower communion, the communion prayer. In the name of providence, which implants in the seed the future of the tree and in the hearts of men and women the longing for people living in human love. In the name of the highest, in whom we move and who makes the mother and father, the brother and sister, the ancestor and the newborn babe what they are. In the name of sages and great religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of peace and justice, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real siblings and kin, regardless of any kind of bar which estranges one from another. In this holy resolution, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are one family, that one spirit, the spirit of love, unites us. And may we endeavor for a more perfect and more joyful life. Amen. And I will add, blessed be. Before our closing words and our final song, I have a few announcements. Our next UU Men's group is Tuesday at 7 p.m. It is in person and outdoor at Chris Woodcock's house in Northborough. Next week, save the date, June 23rd at 6:00 p.m. People will gather for the summer solstice celebration out of doors. Bring a bag supper to enjoy. Please check your perspective for details. There are still items available for the Hugs fundraiser. Have you bought a sermon of your choice yet? I think there's a couple on offer this year. Next Sunday, our service will mark the ending of the 2020-21 church year. And I'm going to give you a spoiler. The choir is gathering to video a special number to send you off with. Hopefully, with lots of warm fuzzies and dreams of getting together starting in fall. The next week, the 27th of June, is the closing worship at the end of General Assembly, and we'll stream it and watch it together. Those services are always fabulous and inspirational. And then we'll be on summer schedule with most committees and groups taking a break for a month or two while we soak up this lovely weather. Our worship will continue on Zoom through the summer. Summer services will be shared among the same group of local congregations that we have enjoyed Safari Sundays in summers past with. But since we're joining in with Zoom, we'll be calling it Circle Sundays instead of Safari Sundays. The information for each service will be in your Friday perspective each week through September 5th. And finally, let's send up lots of prayers and positive intentions for being able to hold our September Ingathering Water Communion service safely in person. And so we close today with the words of Mickey Scott Bay Jones. Together we will create brave space because there's no such thing as safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. And I want to say a special thank you to Pam, who played so many different clips and slides today. Thank you all for being here this morning.